McLaren are underdogs coming into 2023 and will make a big step up in comparison to what they've started so far in Bahrain. So Jeddah is the next track, and this should give us a better estimate of where cars are at. Right now we don't really have a good track to measure actual car performance. Spain would have been, I guess, better for that, but testing is testing. But when it comes to the race, obviously that Red Bull looked like it was blistering fast, and the McLaren looked awful because of its problems and not really getting much track time. But the actual race pace says otherwise. The car isn't as bad as I think even Andrea Stella talks about. Before I get more into this video, thank you all so much for 1,000 subscribers. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting. It genuinely means the world. And now we got some bigger goals ahead. So please subscribe, like, and let's move into the McLaren video. So McLaren is a team that I think has underperformed these past couple of years. 2021 was okay. 2020 was very solid, but it only really happened because Ferrari was super behind, Racing Point had penalty points, and Renault made a lot of mistakes and had reliability. If you put that all into perspective, sure, you can say that for any other team. Oh, McLaren had some problems here. Oh, McLaren this. They benefited definitely off of those other teams, but they also have performed pretty well in that 2020 year. 2021, they didn't develop the car as much. They should have taken a bigger step ahead and maybe even competed with the top teams. They didn't. 2022, they took another step behind, and 2023 already looks like a bigger step behind. But I do believe they're cooking something up, and I do believe they will join really this big top 5 almost fight that I think will happen at some point during the 5th or 6th race, just because of all these Baku and Imola upgrades coming. Andrea Stella talks about the car actually being a little bit better than they thought. He expected it to be worse, and the actual race pace of the car is decent. It was keeping up with the actual Aston Martins and the Ferrari when it had new tires on, but that isn't very accurate. I mean, Lando was just kind of driving behind, but pit 6 times, so how much can you really justify off of 6 pits? You have fresh tires, you're just pushing the whole entire time, you don't have to conserve anything, so it's not really an accurate way to go. Oscar was actually fighting with Ocon before the reliability problem and actually making good pace till the car obviously died. The team was restricted and actually hurt really badly by the 2023 regulations that came. As we know, the floor height got raised 15 millimeters and it actually really hurt McLaren. They talk about their floor geometry being not adjusted to the actual millimeter height that they have, so it did affect them in a pretty big way. Another reason why I believe they are the underdogs and really do need to perform is Lando Norris. Let's talk about Lando Norris for a second. I believe Lando Norris to be just as good as Max Verstappen. Now that is a big statement, but I do believe that the kid could actually compete with Max given the right machinery. He's also younger than Max by 2 years and has actually less experience than Max by I think 3 years in Formula One. So go off of Max Verstappen 3 years ago in the Aston Martin Red Bull in 2019 and 2020. And you can, I guess, judge that more off of how the 2020 season was for McLaren and the 2021 season for McLaren. Because that's actually where I would kind of put where that Red Bull was. It was kind of closer front runners, but it wasn't really there. Ferrari and Mercedes were faster at that time. So I guess you can judge it off that. And Max was a very crash-heavy driver. Lando is not a crash-heavy driver, but when he was put into the situations, if he could win, he didn't capitalize. Monza, I'm not going to really talk about that. I think that either Daniel was a little bit faster or they didn't want to just ruin that 1-2. It was so close to being, if they were to crash and ruin that 1-2, that would have been insanely bad for McLaren. So they did not want to ruin that. But Sochi, it's kind of on the team, kind of on him. I mean, I would definitely blame the team more, and it didn't really give Lando a good strategy call, and that's kind of what ended up happening. And keeping him out on those slicks did not help him. He should have pit for the inters. We all know that meme. But with the pressure of other drivers actually talking about leaving their teams, and with big teams also looking for maybe other drivers, let's say Red Bull actually might lose Checo. Checo did perform pretty well in the first race, but let's just say he doesn't continue to perform in the 2023 season like he did in 2022, was far behind Max Verstappen. Red Bull could be looking for a replacement, and we do know that Christian Horner loves Lando Norris. So Lando could be looking towards Red Bull. Maybe Ferrari opens up. Maybe Lewis Hamilton just says, screw it, I don't want to perform anymore. I mean, there are a lot of options, and McLaren has to be scared of those whenever these rumors come up, especially when they're underperforming. When the car is underperforming, automatically talks about Lando leaving, talks about the team being super far behind. It kills the vibe going on with the actual McLaren team, and Lando might genuinely start thinking about what's next in my career, because he does want to get a championship, and like I said, he could bring it to Max given the right machinery. With upgrades being sought out in Baku and actually aggressive development coming towards Jeddah, we are getting some new updates on what could be happening in Jeddah, and we should see some slight visible changes to the car, which is always lovely. I love seeing the car being different. I love seeing what I can analyze on the car and what McLaren has brought to the Jeddah race. So we get that in a week's time. Will they actually bring upgrades that are sufficient enough to kind of put them in that midfield battle and put them obviously above teams like Haas and Williams and Alfa Romeo? They should not even be in the talks with those teams. They have to be beating those teams by a good margin. In Baku being obviously their big break, the one that they're talking about could bring them to fight with the top teams. I mean, I'm interested to see, but like I said, I see them as the underdogs in 2023, and I do fully believe they will make a comeback in 2023 and fight with even Alpine and maybe some of the top teams. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of what's happening in McLaren, and are your thoughts negative? Do you have some positive thoughts towards McLaren? I'm leaning more towards the positive side right now. I know that they didn't start off the year correctly, but I do think that they can make a better car than what is actually out right now. Please leave your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.